Hello, I'm Jon Delano, KDKA-TV political editor. Thanks for being here for the final Inside Pennsylvania Politics of the 2024 election cycle. And for the last time this season, I'm here with our panel. They are young, politically active Pennsylvanians from diverse backgrounds and opinions. I'm the only old guy here, which makes sense because elections are really about the future. Joining us as Republicans, Aaron Koper, president of the Allegheny County Council of Republican Women. Rico Elmore, vice chair of the Beaver County Republican Committee and father of one. And David Gehring, GOP committee person and member of the Allegheny County Young Republicans and father of two. And as for the Democrats, Shelley Pikelick, Mount Lebanon Democrat and mom of five. Christian Sesek, attorney and chair of the Fayette County New Deal Democrats, and Eric Stern, Democratic strategist and LGBTQ activist and father of one. The election is over and American voters chose to send Donald Trump back to the White House for a second term. The New York Times says in the 47 states where the count is mostly complete, counties with the biggest Democratic victories in 2020 delivered 1.9 million fewer votes for Kamala Harris in 2024. By contrast, the most Republican counties produced an additional 1.2 million votes for Donald Trump. Philadelphia and Detroit both saw turnout declines. In a few words, panelists, I just want to ask, what happened? Why did Donald Trump win a second term? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I believe he won a second term is because the silent majority is no longer silent. I think Americans wanted the America First policies. They want a secure border, they want cheaper gas and groceries, and they want to be able to have sovereignty and liberty. We're
going to come back to some of those policies in a moment. Rico, fellow Republican with your colleague here, do you agree, or are there other reasons why Donald Trump won?
I agree with Aaron that Donald Trump won because people are tired in the way the economy is projected. We need more things at home. We need the family base. We need the community to come together, and Donald Trump brought that, and that's why he won.
David, same view?
Better messaging for our party, better people around our candidate, better policy, better ground game, better election security.
Nice and succinct. Well, Democrats, why did Kamala Harris lose and Donald Trump win? Shelley?
It's a big question, needless to say. I think this is something we're going to be talking about for years. I keep thinking about two things. I think James Carville would tell us it's the economy, stupid, right? I mean, it was always going to be a really uphill battle for the Democratic candidate to overcome people's impressions of what's going on with the economy and inflation. And Donald Trump's campaign did a great job of connecting with men, young men. And that did not outweigh the connection that Kamala Harris's campaign had with young women.
Christian?
Well, I said the economy on the very first maiden voyage, but I think the big thing that the Republicans brought this time was ground game. They were knocking doors in places where they had never knocked doors before. They had volunteers out, paid volunteers in certain instances. Super PACs were supporting and funding, and I think that turnout brought them over the line in the counties where they needed to overperform.
Eric, you get the last word for the Democrats on this one.
I think that, inflation is high. People are feeling left behind. There's no doubt about it. But, this isn't a United States specific trend. We've seen globally, every single developed country in the world that's had an election this year, the incumbent or the incumbent party has lost because, again, a lot of people's lives are hard and they're blaming the people in power. And so, I think Kamala, Democrats did a really good job, and just at some point, it's cards are stacked against you.
Yeah. Well, I want to move on from what happened on Election Day to talk more about what it means for all of us and for those who are watching. And when all the votes are counted several weeks from now, it seems like the Republican Party is going to have a trifecta. As of right now, CBS is not projected a winner in Pennsylvania's Senate election, though Republican Dave McCormick has declared victory. And regardless, Republicans have a majority in the Senate. The only question is whether they will have 52 or 53 seats. In the House, Republicans are expected to take control, Democrats hoping to keep their margin of power extremely narrow. So maybe 4, 5, 6 votes. We're not quite sure exactly what will turn out. What can the GOP accomplish now with the White House and legislature in control. So let's talk about that. From an issue standpoint, does Donald Trump now have a mandate that he can deliver on? Republicans, David.
Well, I sure hope so. There were a lot of people that were from all across the board, moderate, a little bit farther left to pretty far right around Donald Trump. I mean, we have people that are just business people. They're not even politicians that are trying to get involved and make our country better. So if Donald Trump can deliver, he may be the most successful president we've ever had. If he can't, he may be the biggest failure we've ever had.
Interesting. So that puts a lot of pressure on him.
That's right.
Rico, you agree?
I do agree. Donald Trump has the ability to bring his country together and also bring the businesses together, bring manufacturing back, and just help the American people and the community. And he has the House and the Senate to do so. So let's get it done.
Well, I guess the question is, will the House and Senate be, quote, rubber stamps for anything that Donald Trump wants? What do you think?
I believe, he's going to be able to, well, when you have the House and the Senate, or the White House and the Senate, you're able to, judicial nominees.
Right, you can confirm those that need Senate confirmation.
Right, and your appointments. They can go push through a lot faster. So I think policy is going to get pushed through rather fast. We have 2 years while we have control to accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, and that is with, like the Tulsi Gabbard, the RFK, the unity party that we've become.
Right. I want to move on to a specific policy in just a moment, but very quick on the Democrats, 10, 15 seconds. Are you concerned about the Republicans controlling all of government?
Can I just say yes? I mean, yes, I'm certainly concerned about it. It'll be interesting to see, this will be a time in both parties, it'll be interesting to see whether this is a unifying point for the Republican Party or whether, there are some push-pull within the party itself that's going to make it difficult for them to accomplish what they want to.
Christian, Eric?
I think that it's certainly concerning for me, but we have to wait and see how this plays out. I mean, Donald Trump has a very long list of laundry items that he'd like to accomplish. He may accomplish some, he may accomplish none. We saw what happened 4 years ago.
Eric, I'm going to turn to an issue right now and just ask you to talk about it because, a central Trump campaign promise really was mass deportations of an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants currently in the United States. So what do you think these mass immigrations or deportations of these illegal immigrants, what's that going to mean? Do you think it can happen?
I don't know. I think we'll see how aggressive his administration is in trying to carry this out. I mean, it's going to be widespread, panic, bloodshed. People are going to die. People are going to be rounded up and put in camps. It's going to be a horrific stain, one that's going to cost us hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars to try and carry out. I mean, I think we'll see how destructive he ends up being, but it's going to be horrific.
Republicans, is that how you see the deportation?
All of that blood is on Kamala Harris's hands. I mean, we're putting all this on Donald Trump. We wouldn't have to do this if it wasn't for her and Biden.
Well, wait a minute. I want to come back to the bloodshed. Is there really going to be bloodshed? That would not be on Kamala Harris. That would be on Donald Trump, who would be president, if there is. Now, do you think there will be?
There is. There are people that are in this country that are going to go to prison if they go back to their country. They're taking over apartment buildings across the country. You don't think these criminals are going to fight to the death to stay here? They are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Others, Aaron, how do you feel about the deportations? Well, first of all, I think the basic question is, candidates say an awful lot of things in a campaign, don't they? Mm-hmm. And they don't always mean what they say. Is this an issue that Donald Trump really means what he says, Aaron?
Well, look at his newest appointment for the border czar, Homan. I mean, if you watch how his interaction with AOC, where he said, being in this country is illegal. If you come through the proper channel, through the port of entry, you are welcome here. That is the message. So if you're not here, you are breaking the law. And a country is not a country without secure borders. I mean, a lot of good people have come through. We want them to come through the right way. The people that have come through with the good people are murdering, raping, and killing children and women.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of bloodshed. That word is being used at the border already.
That's right.
With traffickers, with raping of women and children.
There's already a lot of bloodshed for Americans.
It's a moneymaker.
It should be pointed out that immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than Americans do.
No, they don't.
And it should
there's
also
data.
be pointed out that this is a talking point for Donald Trump, and there's no greater indication of that than the fact that he killed a bill that was supported by border police, was supported by their unions, and we could have had action on this under the Biden administration on his watch, and Donald Trump killed that bill.
Well, this is just one of many policies that we're going to be watching over the next number of months, because I do think it's likely to be the first one to be implemented by our incoming president. And we'll just see how it all takes place. Thank you, panel. We've got a lot more to talk about, so we're going to wrap up our discussion there. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Jon Delano. I want to continue our policy discussion. President-elect Trump frequently promised to enact sweeping tariffs, the central aspect of his economic plan. He has said he will impose new tariffs of 10 to 20% on every U.S. trading partner and 60% tariffs on China. So what kind of economic impact should everyday Americans expect? Panelists, is this something that you're looking forward to? Dave, real quick.
Sure. Tariffs work so nice that we got to do them twice. I don't think we want all of our steel to be coming from a foreign country. I don't think we want all of our chips or all of our medicine. So this will be a nice balance that we need, and it'll give our companies in the United States a chance to really compete.
Christian, are you worried that tariffs might increase the costs of foreign goods here in the U.S.?
It's quite possible, John, but coming from an organized labor background, a working class background, I know the impact that they had in the steel sector in the United States to keep us competitive across the board. And that was one thing that I gave Donald Trump's presidency credit for the last time around. It was something we had waited for a long time, but we'll have to wait and see what the impact is.
And at least on steel and aluminum, President Biden continued
Correct.
those tariffs.
Right.
Shelley, you're a mom of 5.
I am.
Most clothes are made in China and
Yes.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to raise the cost by 60%
Right.
of clothes for Americans. Does that concern you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with Christian. This isn't something I feel super strongly about in terms of disagreeing with President Trump's plans. I think it is going to have an impact that people that voted for him may not have been expecting it to have, and that's absolutely going to be higher prices at the register, no doubt about it.
Aaron, you think the public will accept that?
I do. And this is why we've already gone through 4 years of high prices for everyday goods. I think that Republicans, conservatives especially, have always pushed for buying in America
Right.
products. So I think we are already conditioned to buy American-made products. So I
Well,
don't
this is going to make it cheaper to
See.
buy American, or at least not as expensive as buying foreign. Thank you. Good discussion on tariffs. The Trump transition is underway, and the administration is assembling its leadership team. Some appointments: South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem for Homeland Security, Florida Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, Fox and Friends weekend anchor Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, and former head of deportations for ICE, the Immigration, Customs and Enforcement Agency, Tom Homan, as border czar. Panelists, are any of these appointments a surprise to you? Any of you?
I mean, John, you interested in being Secretary of Defense? Like, seems Trump's
It's
giving it out to
anybody's
news
job,
anchors
yeah.
now. Like,
That one surprised me quite a bit. Shouldn't have, though, maybe.
Well, let's ask Rico, because you've got the military, and Dave too. You've got.
At least this guy probably doesn't wear a mask over his face on an airplane.
I'm a big fan of Holman going down and protecting our border, because he has the firsthand account and knowledge of what's going on, and he'll be able to get in there and root out what is good and what is bad.
So this is Tom Homan, who's going to be the border czar.
Yes.
In the White House. Dave, I'm sorry, I missed the point you were just making.
No, I mean, it's just like these other people that were in there are simple. Like, they're walking around with these face shields on a year after COVID. I mean, it's just nonsense. I think what's more important than who he has put in place is who he hasn't. I'm so happy that Mike Pompeo's not in there. He was the Secretary of Deep State. I'm so glad that neocon Nikki was not put on there. So I'm really happy with certain people being excluded. and I'm willing to take a chance on who he's including.
Is he taking a chance with this Fox and Friends?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With someone who's never managed
Who is
a
this
budget,
person?
who's never
Never
managed
been
a
in
staff.
public service.
Like, it's terrifying. Like, the people that are supposed to defend us, the people who's supposed to be in charge of the people that defend us, have no experience at all.
Will he get confirmed by the Republican Senate? It doesn't take too many to object. You know, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, a couple of those guys could object, and
He'll get confirmed.
I would be surprised if he weren't confirmed.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Donald Trump's party.
it's
That's
Donald
right.
Trump's
Don't
party.
forget it.
Aaron, last word on this.
I think the president is surrounding himself. He learned from the first time, again, to Dave's point about Nikki Haley, Pompeo, and I think he is making better informed decisions. He knows his way now around. He's surrounding himself by people who care about the Trump administration and America First policies.
Yeah. Well, I think there's no doubt that he's appointing people that he feels most comfortable with, whether they're qualified to do the jobs that he's appointed. The Senate will get confirmation, so for some of these, and there could be debate about that. I do want to ask you about somebody who's not going to get confirmed for anything, but seems to be playing a big role in the Trump administration, Elon Musk. You know, this is a fellow who has been given a position outside of government, if I understand correctly, along with Vivek Ramaswamy, to cut spending, government spending, by $2 trillion. That might be a worthwhile goal, but when he's not going to be confirmed by the Senate, he's not going to have any kind of budget, as far as I know. I don't know how exactly this works. What do you think the role of Elon Musk should be in this administration? I'm going to start with you, Shelley.
What do you think? I think the role of Elon Musk should be within this administration. It's nonsense to me. I don't understand. I'm watching this like the people on TV are, and I just kind of can't believe it. It blows my mind.
It blows
It
your
doesn't
mind.
surprise me, though.
Which of the Republicans thinks this is a great idea?
Me.
I think it's
All
great.
three. All three.
I mean,
He's more-
Rico, tell us.
Elon Musk is a genius, right?
Yeah.
And it even fits on the Democratic side. They want to have everything electric and electric cars. I mean, Elon Musk, it's a puzzle made in heaven.
A puzzle made in heaven. Aaron, what do you think?
No, I think it's refreshing in a way. I mean, I get the concern. I understand it. However, it's refreshing because he's not attached to anything. He's an outsider. So he'll have a fresh perspective. And he's a very successful businessman who is changing the trajectory of the way our world works. And again, to Rico's point, with electric cars, I mean, he could move, just his.
But, I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't he make millions of dollars in contracts with the U.S.?
Yeah, but
particularly his space stuff.
At one point he did. He made a lot of money off of that, selling carbon credits at one point. I don't know where that's at right now, but I mean, that was stuff that, that people on the left actually put in play. But I think that Elon Musk is a more accomplished businessman than anybody in politics
Yes.
right now,
Agreed.
maybe including Donald Trump. So, I mean, why not try something different if you want something
All
different?
right, well, we'll certainly see how that works out. I want to ask Republicans a question that's sort of the reverse of what you might think I would ask. Normally, you'd think I'd ask you, how great is Donald Trump going to be over the next, and Democrats, how horrible is he going to be? And you'd give me a standard answer. But I want to ask the Republicans first, what concerns you most about Donald Trump as president or the people he gathers together? What are some of the things that might worry you about the next 4 years? Rico?
The biggest thing that worries me about the next 4 years, and we see it in his first 4 years, is that people are constantly coming at him. You look at the Supreme Court, you look at all these indictments, you look at everything that's just hurting Donald Trump. Is he going to have time to actually run the country? Is he going to have time to put us in a trajectory of progress? Or is he going to keep having to fight battles after battle?
Aren't most of those battles going to go away?
No one's above the law.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Aaron, what do you think?
I agree with Rico. I was actually going to say something similar to that. I think that, again, the unity message, we want real unity, and I think that he needs to stay on par with that. I think that we need to prove that we have the policies that all Americans will.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're going to run out of time here, so I want to make sure I give the Democrats a chance to respond to what makes you, I guess, optimistic about the Trump administration.
Nothing lasts forever, and look, we saw the last time that Republicans had control of all, I was going to say all three branches of government, because they certainly do in the court, but of the Senate and the House and the presidency. when Bush had it. They lost it in spectacular fashion when they went far too far to the right.
There's nothing positive over the next 4 years,
You guys
Shelley?
love
I'm
Bush
not
now.
optimistic about this at all, but I agree that I'm hoping this is a galvanizing moment for the Democratic Party. I'm excited to see our new leadership kind of emerge and what happens 2 years and then 4 years from now.
10 seconds.
And that's where I am with it. I think that it's certainly a moment that the Democratic Party needs to learn from and move forward on, and I think that's what the next 4 years holds.
Well, thank you again, panelists. Another great discussion. Shows you why this should be an hour-long show, as some of these guys recommend.
Right.
We're going to wrap up our discussion there. Coming up, I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the 2024 election cycle and what's next. Stick with us. Welcome back to our final 2024 edition of Inside Pennsylvania Politics. I'm Jon Delano. I'm grateful to all our panelists for sharing their thoughts on candidates and politics this year. This is my 30th year at KDKA, so I've seen a lot of campaigns over the decades. Without a doubt, this has been one of the most negative. Unlike those who sell products or services on TV, there is no truth in advertising rules for candidates and the so-called independent groups that support them. In other words, they have a First Amendment right to lie about their opponents, and they often do. So this year not only set new records in campaign spending, but many were offended by how that money was spent. And yet I remain optimistic about America's future, not because of who was or was not elected to public office, but because of the growing engagement of young people in the process. Shows like this reaffirm that belief. But so do the many podcast tweets, Instagram, and TikTok postings that permeated campaign 2024. Messages clearly aimed at younger voters, not at boomers like me. Ben Franklin once famously said after the Constitutional Convention, "We have a republic if we can keep it." I'm counting on these panelists and many others of diverse political stripes to share the same desire to keep it. Until we gather again, I'm Jon Delano. Have a great day, everyone.